Fred Wacker, president of the Montana Stockgrowers Association. Fred, always great to chat with you. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always great to be on and visit with you folks.
Yeah, of course, a great rancher out of Miles City. How's things been looking in Miles City so far? I know it's been a rough year for the farmers out there. I imagine things have been a little tough for the ranchers as well with this wild weather we've been having.
Well, yes, everybody's work has kind of gotten put off. It's slower getting done. But, most of the cattle are shipped, the calves and yearlings, and people are kind of settling in. They had a really good hay year, and everybody put up lots of fine hay, and everybody is just kind of setting in for what we hope will be a normal Montana winter.
Well, it's always exciting when the Montana Stockgrowers Convention comes to town. You're going to be in Billings next week, and I understand you're wanting to make this, and you've been a leading figure in the Montana Stockgrowers for a number of years, but you're wanting to make this one of the best, one of the biggest conventions you've had in a while.
That's absolutely correct. We have a lot of issues that we're working on, trade issues. We wrapped up a really good legislative session, and we've got a good report that we're going to make there. We have a wonderful line of speakers. We have the president of the NCBA, Jennifer Houston, coming in. We have some people from the United States Department of Interior coming in, and we've got a really good lineup for folks, and we hope everybody can just, oh boy, just come to Billings, Montana, and enjoy the Montana Stockgrowers Convention.
Speaking of trade, I know you have your big trade show as a part of it, but trade is also the big topic that everybody's chatting about. And for folks who don't remember, of course, it was your beef that we first were able to get into China. People talk about the trade challenges that we've got right now. But in reality, look, we didn't have access to the Chinese market before President Trump, and the grain prices and things were started going down before President Trump became president. But nonetheless, President Trump is working to get better trade deals with China. Do you think are we going to see something done here pretty soon? I know the Hong Kong situation is caused some more strife between the two countries. But what do you expect when it comes to China trade in the U.S.?
Well, of course, China trade is moving along. I think moving along better behind closed doors. They need this trade agreement as the same as what the United States does. The tariffs are not helping anybody, and they are very short of food. They've lost their pork, and they have their poultry is way down. Just a few days ago, China agreed, and the United States agreed to open up and send poultry to China. So that's a big huge deal, and that's a $1 billion deal. As you know, recently the Japanese agreement, a $55 billion deal, and a good part of that is with ag, and we're going to send soybeans and corn and beef and pork and things over to the Japanese, and so it's going to be a very interesting times as we move forward. But when we open up the Chinese to open and free and fair trade, it's going to be a wonderful market for U.S. ag.
Yeah, especially, once they get that taste of U.S. beef, and they've got a growing, middle class, a growing, upper class that's going to demand that high quality American beef. That's for sure. And on the Japan deal, you were at the White House when that agreement was announced by President Trump.
Yes, I was invited there. I had the honor of being there, standing close to the president and watching the signing of it. It was a great moment for the United States and a great moment for Montana egg ranchers and farmers.
Fred Wacker, the president of the Montana Stockgrowers Association. Their big convention kicks off Tuesday, December 10th in Billings. Fred, always good to have you on the show. We were talking about the importance of trade and China. And look, I know you guys are a big part of these trade discussions. You were at the White House for the Japan announcement by President Trump. You were in the Oval Office with him. The USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Talk again about the importance of that agreement to ranchers here in Montana. And it seems like every week we hear something different out of Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Do you think there's still a chance of actually getting this deal done before the end of the year?
Well, I would certainly hope so. The trade agreement with Mexico and with Canada is so very important because they are our very closest and probably our single biggest trading partners when it comes to grains and beef. There's a lot of Montana cattle, feeder cattle, get sold into the Canadian market. It's a very important thing. I wish that Nancy Pelosi and the House of Representatives would stop fooling around with these issues and get back to work and get things done that needs to be done. They all want to talk about helping Montana ag and ag throughout the United States. But let me tell you, if they don't get with it, these things are going to term out. And the farmers and ranchers are going to be the big losers here.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me, especially because this stuff used to be just a bipartisan deal. If it was taking care of Montana farmers and ranchers, you could get Democrats and Republicans to support these sort of things. But now it's like farmers and ranchers aren't just collateral damage; they're deliberately being targeted in some of this stuff here by blocking things like the USMCA and by not standing with the president and getting better trade deals right now.
Well, that's absolutely right. This is a great trade deal. It's better than what NAFTA was. We can probably bring back some country of origin labeling beef under it. We can move freely a lot more grain, and it fixes some holes that we had in it. It's going to be great for Montana jobs and for people who work with ag products throughout the entire nation.
You've got leading speakers from the Department of the Interior and the USDA Farm Service Agency, others, including the National Cattlemen's Beef Association president. They're going to be out for the Montana Stockgrowers Convention next week. What are you hoping to hear or planning to hear from some of those leading officials that are going to make it out?
Well, I think we're gonna hear from the Department of Interior. We're going to hear about the continued rollback of unnecessary regulations on farmers and ranchers, and honoring the Taylor Grazing Act, which actually set up all of the grazing on public lands. Of course, the Bureau of Land Management is under the control of the Department of Interior. And that's a very important thing because most all ranches in Montana intermingled with the Montana deeded land is U.S. BLM or state public land. So it's very, very critical. I think from the NCBA, we're going to get a good report on what they've been doing, what they've been working on. They've been doing a lot of things on the fake meat issue. Montana, we're ramping up a program locally to work on that issue. It's absolutely fake. It's a product that has no comparison to beef, and so we think that when you take a look at the IPO, the initial public offering of the Impossible meat, that thing went off at $170 or some very close figure to it, and it's now, as of last week, is at $70. I don't think it's going really, really well, and I don't think that it should. It's not a product that the American public want.
Well, and if anybody else it was marketing any other product, a fake product as the real product, they'd probably either get sued or the FTC would go after them. With this fake meat stuff. In fact, our producer Travis Lee, he grew up on a ranch outside of Forsyth, and he actually said, "Okay, I did it. I actually went and tried one of those fake meat burgers," and he was like, "Yeah, it's definitely no comparison to the real thing. That is for sure." But I think Rush Limbaugh described it as a bunch of grass clippings loaded with saturated fat. the fake meat stuff.
There's no good reason for them to push beef to the back seat. We have a way better product. We have a much healthier product. We bring a lot of protein. They do not, and so we think we're going to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. But we have to continually advertise, and we need to continually keep an eye on it, because things like fake meat can take hold and can hurt markets.
Well, Fred Wacker, always a pleasure to chat with you. We look forward to seeing you next week at the Montana Stockgrowers Convention as well.
Sounds absolutely great. Thank you for having me on.